What's up? Vengeance back again with another video. So today I'm gonna be talking about like films mainly and why I watched them like over and over again, like the same films, why I watch the same films over and over again. So if you're a bit like me, there might be like 5 or 10 films, maybe 15 films that you just watch over and over again, or over the course of a few years you watch it like 10 or 15 times or something like that. And I'm just trying to discuss like why I do this or why we do this if you're similar to me, why people like me do that. And to me, like compared to other people, I think I like films a bit more than some of the average people that I know. Like compared to some of my friends, I think I prefer films more than them. I think a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know, they prefer gaming more. They prefer gaming a lot more. They spend most of the time on the PC gaming, playing competitive games, playing with their friends, etc. But I'm really quite into films, and sometimes when I'm tired and I just want to relax, I don't really want to play a game, I'll just pop on a film or something, something like that. Maybe even a TV series, but I don't really watch TV series that much uh right now. So basically, I want to talk about like the kind of films I've watched or the films I like to watch or have watched over and over again. So over the past year, I would say the Batman is a big one. It's a big film that I've watched many times, and I can remember quite a few lines from the film, and like it just kind of it's like a cope. These films, like, to me, they're like a cope, and to me, for some reason, like the Batman is like one of the most relatable films for me right now. Just like mainly because of like his lifestyle and like his demeanor and the way he acts and talks, and like the way he's kind of like antisocial to most people and a bit like socially awkward as Bruce Wayne, compared to as Batman with the mask on. He's a lot more confident and portrays that a lot better. But just his whole aura and vibe, even kind of like the little arc with Catwoman is kind of relatable to something that maybe has happened in my life a little bit. You know what I mean. But yeah, that film is just super relatable, and like Robert Pattinson is my second favorite Batman, probably. Like Ben Affleck to me is actually a really good Batman, and he's one of my favorites. I don't really care what anyone says. I thought his portrayal was really good in the films that he played, but Robert Pattinson is a really close second. And he's just awesome as Batman. Honestly, uh, really good. I mean, sometimes like the film drags a bit, and it can be a bit boring at times, or it can be a bit slow. But overall, I still think the film was really great, and could have had a bit more action in it for sure. I think, and hopefully in the second Batman film they expand on it. But yeah, this film is just like so relatable to me. But yeah, before I talk about the next film, what I want to talk about is just like how it's kind of like a cope, like because like a lot of people like when they watch a film, it's like they just watch it, they think, oh, it's a great film, 8 out of 10, and they just kind of get on with their life. But to me, like some films, it's like a fucking therapy session or something. It's like something I can like really relate to and really like understand. It feels like the character's like me in a way, you know what I mean? And it feels like it just like it just feels like it's a mirror image of my life sometimes, the films I watch. And it's more than just a film to me sometimes, some of the films I watch, and it's really like it's like a real cope. It's a real like coping mechanism for me, I feel like. Just just for life in general, it's a real cope with these some of these films I like. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the same thing with a lot of people. We watch a lot of films as if it's like a therapy session or something. We can really relate to some of the characters. We can really understand and like appreciate and enjoy some of the characters and the visuals in the film. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just a shame that how like a lot of my friends and like they don't appreciate films as much as me, and they don't like it as much as me, but I really do. But yeah, moving on to the next film I want to talk about is Blade Runner 2049. Okay, so this is one of my favorite films of all time. Actually, I can't explain exactly why, but it's just super relatable as well. Like even the character and stuff, and the journey, and like the kind of stuff like Officer K comes across, and like the memory center scene, and just stuff like that. Like kind of being like an outcast in a way, but still like part of society, if that makes sense. Kind of hard to explain, but even the visuals in the film are really good. But I feel like it kind of explores like what it's like to be a human, or what it's like to have meaning, or do you even have meaning in life, depending on your position or depending on what you do. And like the main character, without getting into spoilers, like the main character thinking that like he is more than was being told about him. He is more than what society says. But yeah, the film, it kind of, I find it kind of emotional in a way, and quite relatable, obviously. But yeah, even Harrison Ford as Deckard, he played his role quite well. And one of my favorite films in one of my favorite scenes in the film is when he's talking to Wallace, when Deckard is talking to Wallace in that kind of weird like pyramid place, whatever it is. But yeah, that part was really good as well, and quite emotional, I think. But and quite deep as well. But yeah, also the visuals. I mean, you didn't get to see as much of the city as I would like, I think, but the city, like for what it looked like, for what we saw, it looked quite cool, quite good with the with the holograms, with the billboards and stuff, etc. But yeah, they could have expanded more on the way the city looks, a bit like the first Blade Runner film. But this one is really good though, and it's hard to really say like why exactly I like it so much or why I relate to it so much, but there is something about it, you know what I mean? And there's quite a lot of memes about it, but there's a lot of memes about it because it is a really good film. I do think I prefer it more than the film Drive, which also has Ryan Gosling in it, obviously. But yeah, that's another great film. Moving on, actually, before I move on, I just want to say like some of these films I feel like I found kind of later, not later in life, but I found later on, which I couldn't believe I hadn't watched these films before. Like I kind of can't believe I didn't watch Blade Runner 2049 for like 3 years since the year it came out, because I watched it in 2020 and it came out in 2017. I kind of can't believe it in a way, because I feel like that's a film I should have watched the first time it came out. You know what I mean? Moving on, um, Fight Club. Okay, I watched this film in like 2018, 2019. I think actually, well, I read the book first and then I watched the film in like 2019. But yeah, this film it explores obviously like nihilism. It's a bit philosophical in a lot of ways, but it's mainly about nihilism in some ways. That's the underlying theme of the film, and it kind of explores the kind of everyday kind of like doomer in a way kind of character who obviously like just tries to bring out like his frustrations in life and tries to relieve his masculinity through fighting underground fight club underneath a bar, etc. But yeah, this film, like, it is amazing film. To me, it's like a 9 out of 10 at least. And like the characters in it, like Tyler Durden, just really good performance by uh Brad Pitt, and just like the way he talks and like his acting is that's probably my favorite Brad Pitt role ever, definitely. And like I said, like all these films, like I pretty much put them on this kind of list because they're just super like relatable to me. That's a word you're gonna hear a lot today. But yeah, this film is just like it is quite deep, and it kind of explores kind of chaos and like society and like um yeah, basically just like kind of frustrations of modern men, I guess, and like how they can't really be like masculine as much, and a lot of them are like raised mainly by their moms, by the mothers, without a dad in the house. You know what I mean? To look up to, etc. But why do I actually like the film? Again, kind of hard to explain, but just because it actually feels very real to me, and it feels like this is a kind of lifestyle or life I had or like could have or like have kind of imagined myself living. You know what I mean? I can kind of understand like the main character and like why they would want to do what they're doing basically, and like them just being fed up with society and like wanting to just cause like just disasters and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say the book itself has actual more fighting in it. Has more fighting in it than the film. The film isn't as much about fighting, I think, but I think the book has a lot more fights in it, to be honest. But yeah, the film's still really good though, and still like quite philosophical, and a lot of people like prefer it more than the actual book even, which is kind of rare. But I would say, yeah, like, I mean, a lot of things I feel like in the film, it kind of opened my mind up. It kind of opened my mind up to that, like, I haven't thought about before. So, like, like certain scenes, they kind of have you thinking, like, why did he do that? Like, why did he do this? Like when Tyler Durden aims a gun at the when Tyler Durden aims a gun at the like shopkeeper outside, or like when he's like pitting like the acid on like the main character's like hand, basically. You know, like, why is he doing these things? It's because he's trying to give like give people that kind of desperation and make them feel like, oh shit, their life is about to end, or they're going through extreme pain. So like when they go through extreme pain, they're gonna also enjoy bliss and like pleasure a lot more than if they hadn't felt that. Or if someone has a gun aimed at their head, like, you know, they're gonna value their life a lot more. They're gonna be like terrified for like 5 minutes, but then they're gonna also want to like they're gonna cling to life a lot more after that. Like when you're terrified of death and you're close to death, you might like feel really like desperate to live, and you probably like value life a bit more, to be honest, in some ways. But yeah, that's Fight Club. Another film that I really like. I did quite like Joker for like when it came out for the first couple of years, like first year or two, but I kind of stopped watching it after a while, and I kind of just watched the Batman mainly. I think I prefer the Batman more right now, but that's also a close film. I'm not gonna put it on this list, but yeah, The Dark Knight is also really um that's a film I've watched so many times. Like, that's probably one of my most watched films ever. Like, literally, probably my most watched film. And that film has some good visuals, and like the Joker in that film is really good, just out there to cause disaster and havoc. Batman's like not as much of a pivotal role, I feel like, than in the other films in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, but he's still really good. And like basically, like, for me, uh yeah, this film is just kind of feels like real life in a lot of ways. It feels like something that could have happened in real life, or just like basically like it feels like very realistic. Like the way people react is kind of how I imagine people to react in real life, if you know what I mean. But anyway, moving on. So, uh, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so like, I mean, a lot of people, they watch films for different reasons. You know what I mean? Like, people, they watch films maybe for the actors, or some people watch films just for the action itself, maybe not the story. Some people watch films for like even like the clothes or something. Like, there's many reasons to watch films. There's many reasons why I've watched films like over and over again. You know what I mean? And some people just have like a film on in the background at the house just for like ambiance or something like that. They don't even watch it properly sometimes, which is fair enough. You know what I mean? Do what you want, but yeah, for me, like, there's always like a reason. Like, there's always like a reason why I like a film a lot. And yeah, Nightcrawler is another film I've I was watching last night. And that film, like, when I first watched it the first few times, like, I didn't really like I didn't really like it that much, actually. I thought it was a little bit more boring, a bit more of like an indie film, it felt like, in some ways. But when I watched it like the third or fifth time, when I got to like the third or fifth time of having watched the film, I just thought, oh, this film was like really good. And the acting by Jake Gyllenhaal is really good as well. Great plot, and it's kind of like somewhat simple in some ways, but like the way he talks and the way like he acts and stuff is really good. Like, the script is really good, and the delivery by Jake Gyllenhaal is really good as well. And just the whole film, it has a certain vibe that's kind of hard to explain. It is kind of like, it's up there with Drive, you know what I mean? It's up there with the film Drive. They both have a similar kind of vibe in some ways, if you know what I mean. It's only like 2 hours long, so not too long, not too short either. But yeah, that film, it kind of really, Jake really uh embodies the kind of like psychopath uh character quite well, you know what I mean? And he seems kind of alienated compared to some people, but he is quite professional. Like, the way he talks, and the way he talks in does things is very like on point. Like he doesn't really fuck around in that film. He does things properly. He does things properly, you know what I mean? But yeah, those are the main films I can think of right now. I know that wasn't super like professional or like well done the way I done the list, but I just wanted to talk about some of the films I want to watch and like ones I relate to. But yeah, at the end of the day, just to summarize this video a bit, like most films to me they're like a cope. I like to watch them a lot, and I can watch them over and over again. Also, like the Batman itself, like that film has really good cinematography. Like the visuals and the imagery in that film is really really good. Like the best cinematography in any Batman film ever, by far. And it's just pretty to watch. Like even if you're not watching it for the story, just to look at like the shots and the scenes in the film is quite nice. Actually, it's quite satisfying. Actually, to be honest. But yeah, basically, you know, like sometimes like some films they'll hit different, or even some games will hit different in the winter, or when it's snowing outside and you got that Christmassy vibe around the area, around your city, etc. And it's all cold and everything. Like for me, I'd say Arkham Origins is actually a really good game to play around Christmas time. Also, I think Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's a game that's quite decent to play like around Christmas time, around the winter, because it is like kind of a Christmassy game and the city is all snowy, etc. etc. But yeah, I mean, definitely some films I think actually fit like uh certain like certain times of the year and like certain moods that you're in. Obviously, you know what I mean. I think I would like different characters if I had a different vibe or mood about me. But yeah, I think not Christmas films, but some films like that are like set in Christmas when you watch them in Christmas time or around the fall, it hits different and it does feel good and like it does fit quite well. You know what I mean, with the vibe of your city and etc. But yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to say. Like, put your favorite films below. Put your films that you find most really relatable below. That's Vengeance signing out. See you all next time.